Welcome to Stream of Consciousness. This is episode 6. How you doing today? My name is Kevin. We are going to examine the news, and I'm just going to riff on it. Just let it all come out, Stream of Consciousness style. So let's just go ahead and start right now. All right, let's get into it. Oh, what's this here? Just an FYI, I'm on my lunch break. I literally work about 2 minutes from where I live, so I come home for lunch. And one of the things I like to do while I'm at lunch is read the news. And I don't really talk about news and politics with people in real life, so sometimes I just have to get it off my chest. You know what I'm saying? Let's do that. Chinese spy balloon gathered intelligence on U.S. military sites, NBC News. A Chinese balloon that flew across the United States was able to gather intelligence from several U.S. military sites and transmit it back to Beijing in real time. Despite the Biden administration's effort to prevent it from doing so, NBC News reported on Monday. The high-altitude balloon, controlled by Beijing, was able to make multiple passes over some of the sites before it was shot down February 4th. And at times, flying in a figure-8 formation, NBC said, citing 2 current senior U.S. officials and 1 former senior administration official. Now, let's just be clear. It just didn't cover sensitive, military sites. The thing was allowed to traverse the entire continental United States pretty much, and it wasn't shot down until it was over the Atlantic. So, yeah. It should have been shot down the moment it intruded on U.S. airspace. That's exactly what the Chinese do whenever our spy aircraft go over their territory. So turnabout is fair play, and the fact that we let it linger for so long, to me, is a dereliction of duty on the part of the Biden administration. In many ways, I'm not going to voice any really deeply held personal opinions here. Let's just stick to the facts. The fact is, this balloon was allowed to enter the airspace of the continental United States. It lingered around over Montana for a while, which does house our many of our nuclear weapons are in the missile systems are in Montana. Nothing was done to get rid of this balloon. It finally exited the United States over the Atlantic, and then it was shot down. I think that was a dereliction of duty on the part of the Biden administration. But let's continue. The 3 officials said it could transmit the information it collected back to Beijing in real time. Sure, of course it could. Just as our cell phones can communicate with somebody in real time on the other side of the planet, this balloon should have been able to do the exact same thing. And it would be ridiculous to believe it couldn't. The intelligence China collected was mostly from electronic signaling, which can be picked up from weapons systems or include communications from base personnel rather than images, of course. Yes. It's important to understand that visible light is literally just another spectrum on the electromagnetic spectrum, which includes radio waves, infrared, ultraviolet, microwave. So if it was able to collect visible light telemetry data, then it stands to reason it probably could have also collected radio waves, a wide variety of both of a whole range of signals on the EM spectrum. White House official John Kirby told reporters on Monday that he could not confirm NBC's report. Of course he's going to say that. Anybody with an ounce of common sense should have known, or should know, that the balloon would have been collecting signal data, both in the visible spectrum and the non-visible spectrum. But, John Kirby said, the U.S. limited the balloon's ability to be able to collect anything additive. That is a bullshit statement. Total bullshit. He added that the U.S. government was able to study and analyze the balloon while it was in the U.S. airspace, saying, we gained some useful context. That's another bullshit statement. Gain useful context? No. What do you mean by useful context? First off, define that phrase. If I were a reporter, what do you mean by gain some useful context? We should know, based on our own technology, based on Russian technology, based on 100 years of electronic instrumentations and knowledge in electronics, that they were able to gain a wide variety of data. And our useful context was just knowing, hey, it's there, it's collecting data. I mean, the Chinese Foreign Ministry in Beijing, and do you remember when it was called Peking? I think we should just call it that, just to piss off the Chinese. And the Chinese embassy in Washington did not immediately respond to Reuters' request for comment. At the time, U.S. officials downplayed the balloon's impact on national security. The balloon, which Beijing denies was a government spy vessel, spent a week flying over the United States and Canada early in February before the U.S. shot it down over the Atlantic, thus verifying what I said originally. We let that thing loiter over the United States for a week before they shot it down over the Atlantic. That is a dereliction of duty. If Biden wouldn't have ordered it, the military should have stepped up and said, I'm sorry, Mr. President, we're going to shoot this down. It's entered our airspace. The incident prompted U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken to postpone a planned visit to Beijing and further strained relationships with Washington and Beijing. The episode caused an uproar in Washington and led the U.S. military to search the skies for other objects that were not being captured on radar. The United States said on February 17th that it successfully concluded recovery efforts off South Carolina to collect sensors and other debris from the suspected Chinese surveillance balloon that had investigators would analyze its guts. Well, I tell you what, if you'd shot it down over land, you would have collected more of its electronics and other mechanisms. I can guarantee you there are aspects of that balloon that were not recovered because they're at the bottom of the ocean, could not be found. I think it's very serious. Uh, Uh-oh. Biggest snowstorm possible in north Midwest, south braces for more tornadoes, blah, blah, blah. Yes, spring is here. Our military is in dangerous decline, and this is the reason why. I'm just curious. What is the reason why? So they say. I'm not going to read this whole article. Blah, blah, blah. We have mission, protective foreign enemies. Our troops are committed there, but according to a new briefing report, our warriors' ability to do the job is being undermined by civilian leaders with more interested in woke. I gotta hate that. Okay. Get rid of the word woke because it doesn't necessarily mean what. Well, first off, it is a butchering of the English language. Woke is the past tense to wake. I woke up, at a particular time, whatever. It's just whatever. What they're more interested in are political indoctrination. That's all you have to say. And partisan politics than warfighting readiness. The report of the National Independent Panel on Military Service and Readiness is an urgent warning that creeping politicization at the Pentagon and its course of impact on America's national defense. The report is an urgent. Okay, sorry. As the report details, the Biden administration's whole of government embrace of partisan politics is becoming a dangerous distraction for servicemen and women who signed up to protect and defend, not virtue signal. And I will agree with a lot of that. I actually know a person who did not renew his term of service. He did not re-enlist. And he cited these kinds of reasons specifically. I mean, actually, what he said was, I didn't want to ever be put in a position to have to fight my family in Kansas. And that's what it feels like to a lot of people, that our military is being conditioned to go to war with its own people. But yeah, it's sad times. The AI disaster is here, and we don't care. I can tell you right now, I do not have as much fear over AI as a lot of other people have. You know, it's a boogeyman of science fiction, but science fiction is not science fact. Science fiction can be very predictive, but at the same time, AI is like any other thing. It can be used as a weapon, or it can be used as a tool. It can be used as defense, or it can be used as offense. It really depends on who's wielding that weapon. But do we need to be concerned with AI in the wrong hands? Sure. But we can't stop the wrong hands from acquiring AI. We just have to be ready to defend against it. Ooh. I went and saw John Wick yesterday, John Wick Chapter 4, and I really liked Kill Bill. Let's see what they're talking about here. Which show are they talking about? Netflix's latest thriller, Kill Boksoon, has been winning over viewers. I'll have to check that out. I really do enjoy a lot of the South Korean entertainment. They have really done a good job on creating and crafting good entertainment. They're really astute at that, and have learned some really good lessons from U.S. Entertainment, and been able to incorporate that into their own. And actually, one of the things I like about South Korean TV shows and movies is how well they actually translate to a broader audience. You don't have to be South Korean to get the stories, and they resonate with a global audience. They're really, really well done, I think. I will say, I wasn't, in general, I liked John Wick, but I was disappointed at the end. Actually, I was very disappointed at the end. And I'm not gonna give you any spoilers, but I was disappointed at the end. Not that it wasn't a good show, but I don't know, I was just disappointed. And I don't know why. I do know why. I don't mean to say I was disappointed, but I'm not really sure why. I do know why, but I just can't tell you. You have to go see it yourself. New study finds tragic factor contributing to the thousands of gun deaths. The cool down. Seems clickbaity. Let's see what they have to say. Gun violence is already a pressing public health concern. It really isn't. More people are killed by cars. No, 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 no. As temperatures across, I can already tell where this. They're going to try to make the argument that global warming is causing gun violence. No. If that were true, there would be a direct correlation with violence in general from the latitudes as you go further south, with the populations near the equator being the most violent. And that's not true. Yeah. Actually, I would say articles like this and the way that the news media covers gun violence is what contributes to the gun violence. They sensationalize these stories to the point where people who are looking to get their name out there, that want the infamy, I've got to use gun violence if I want to be infamous. I got to get the gun and get out there and shoot some people. It's media that's really fueling a lot of this. And every time there's a gun shooting, you hear from, we've got to do something about this. We got to do something about this. At the same time, they are making the shooter infamous. They are making the act infamous. They're just getting out there and aggrandizing all of this, and it's what is driving it. I read a study that placed the number about 1/3 of gun violence. It can be attributed to media aggrandizing the gun violence. And I just watched a thing on Turning Points. It's a YouTube channel. Look it up. Where the commentator was talking about the World Health Organization and their guidelines for media in covering the suicide, any suicide. And he was talking about that, not unironically, the World Health Organization has similar guidelines for covering mass shootings. And as it applies to suicide, the U.S. news media will follow those guidelines. But as it applies to mass shootings, the media will not follow the World Health Organization guidelines. In fact, they look at the world. The way he framed it is that it's almost as if, and I'm trying to paraphrase from memory, that the U.S. news media looks at the guidelines and interprets it as a how-to guide on how to report mass shootings instead of a guide on how not to report mass shootings. But the idea that this is caused by warming is bumpkus. And you can just look at violence levels at different latitudes. The places that are the coldest should all be the least, have the least gun violence, have the least violence in general. But it's not true. I mean, Moscow is a pretty violent place. And Jackson, Mississippi has a higher violence rate per 100,000 per capita than, say, Panama City. So it's totally bumpkus. You can create all sorts of statistical correlations that aren't necessarily true. That's what I'll say about this. Let's find out what this is all about. Meet Z22915. It's a celestial object that, depending on how you feel, could be one of three different things all at once. Shared as the European Space Agency's Picture of the Week for the week of March 27th, an image of Z22915 showcases what makes this bizarre object so intriguing and why it has left many astronomers in awe since its initial discovery. Located roughly 390 million light years from Earth, that's a long ways away, in the Lyra constellation, Z22915 is one of few celestial objects that can be classified as multiple things. You've already said that. The ESA says that the object can be a quasar, and sometimes it can be defined as an active galactic nuclear, an AGN. Let's see here. What exactly is that? Nucleus. So I knew that was... It's the nucleus of a galaxy that has higher luminosity. So, this just goes to show you how often these news sites screw things up. Other times it's defined as a Cepheid galaxy. Cepheid galaxy. Let's define that real quick. Cepheid galaxies are one of the two largest groups of active galaxies, along with quasars. They have quasar-like nuclei with very high surface brightness whose spectra reveals strong, high ionization emission lines. But unlike quasars, their host galaxies are clearly visible or clearly detectable. So essentially, we're talking about a galaxy whose luminosity varies. From one point, it goes to in what appears to be like a quasar, where it's so bright you can't see the galaxy around it, the other stars. Then at other times, it's so dim, it just looks like the active galactic nucleus. And an active galactic nucleus is a nucleus of a galaxy that's significantly brighter than the rest of the galaxy. And the Cepheid galaxy is kind of in between. So, interesting. I would imagine what's going on is you've got something, or maybe a collection of somethings that are oscillating or orbiting at a particular rate that at times are all emitting energy towards our galaxy or towards us. So at those times it appears like a quasar, but as it swings out of oscillation, it dims and dims until it looks like just an AGN, and then it will orbit or oscillate back towards us, thus appearing to be a quasar. That's my theory. We'll find out in time. I would like to go into this deeper, but it has been 23 minutes, and I need to go ahead and bring this to an end. Well, I think that would stand to reason that the ethnicity of a grooming gang should not be ignored. I need to read up on that later. Unfortunately, I can't do that right now. All right, I need to get going. Y'all take it easy and peace out.